In 1947, India and Pakistan were partitioned into two new countries. After gaining independence, conflicts between these two countries began. This conflict is very old, which is why 4 wars have occurred between the two countries so far: 1947, 1965, 1971, and 1999. Let's understand why these wars occurred and what their outcomes were. The first war between India and Pakistan happened immediately after independence. This war is also called the First Kashmir War, because it was fought over Jammu and Kashmir. From 1946 to 1947, Muslim nationalism was strong, and some leaders of the All India Muslim League demanded a separate country. As a result, numerous clashes erupted between Hindus and Muslims, leading to the decision to partition the country. During this partition, there were many clashes over which country Jammu and Kashmir should belong to. The princely state of Jammu and Kashmir's Maharaja Hari Singh initially showed no interest in joining either country. He stated that since it was a Muslim state, he was not willing to join India and claimed that if it joined Pakistan, Sikhs and followers of other religions would suffer. At that time, 2 parties were dominant. The first was the National Conference led by Sheikh Abdullah, and the second was the Muslim Conference. As a result, Muslims in Jammu and Kashmir revolted. This revolt was attributed to high taxes and unemployment. The Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir lost control over the western districts of his state due to this revolt. Because of this, the Maharaja agreed to join India. The Muslim Conference believed that Pakistan should take immediate action. Pakistan was also under the impression that the Maharaja was inclined towards merging Jammu and Kashmir with India. Consequently, on October 22, 1947, Pakistan invited Pashtun tribal militants and planned to capture Srinagar with their help. This operation was named Operation Gulberg. As soon as the attack began, the Maharaja sought assistance from India, agreeing to sign the Instrument of Accession, which was a condition for India to take responsibility for defending Jammu and Kashmir. Once the Maharaja signed the Instrument of Accession, India was prepared to confront Pakistan's forces. Thus, a war began between the Indian Army and Pakistani tribal forces. When the attack began in 1947, battles took place in areas like Nowshera, Rajouri, Gulmarg, Baramulla, and Uri. By December 31, 1948, the Indian Army had successfully brought areas like Jahangir, Rajouri, Gulmarg, Uri, Titwal, and Gurais under its control. To end this conflict, India contacted the United Nations Security Council, and negotiations began between the two countries. Both countries agreed to a ceasefire, and the terms related to this agreement were outlined in UN Resolution 47. Finally, a ceasefire was declared on January 1, 1949. The line where the two countries stopped was called the Line of Control. India gained control of 2/3 of Kashmir, which includes Kashmir Valley, Jammu, and Ladakh. Pakistan was required to withdraw from these areas, and India was responsible for maintaining law and order in the region. India emerged victorious in this war. The Second India-Pakistan War occurred in 1965 and is referred to as the Second Kashmir War. After the First War in 1947, numerous conflicts continued between the two countries regarding the borders. Pakistan claimed some parts of Kashmir and also argued that it had rights over the Rann of Kutch in Gujarat. In 1965, a tribunal was set up between the two countries to resolve the dispute. Following India's defeat in the 1962 Sino-Indian War, Pakistan believed that the Indian Army had not been able to subdue Kashmir. Consequently, Pakistan prepared for another attack on Kashmir, and the war began on August 5, 1965. Pakistani troops crossed the line of control with the intention of turning Kashmir's locals against the Indian government and establishing dominance over Kashmir. Pakistan named this operation Operation Gibraltar. However, Pakistan's army's plan failed. On September 1st, Pakistan initiated Operation Grand Slam with the aim of capturing Akhnor in Jammu. The Indian Army thwarted Pakistan's plan. On September 6th, the Indian Army crossed the international border in the western sector. On September 6th, the 15th Infantry Division of the Indian Army, under the command of Major General Niranjan Prasad, fought against Pakistan's heavy counterattacks near the Ichagil and Kaina regions. On September 8th, the Indian Army sent 5 Maratha light infantry units to reinforce the strategic location of Munabao, located 250 kilometers from Jodhpur. Munabao fell into Pakistani hands. Attempts to capture this strategic point were unsuccessful. After September 9th, the intense battles between the two countries continued. India launched attacks towards Sialkot and Lahore. This was divided into 2 parts. The Pakistani 6th Armor Division was forcefully pushed back from Chawinda, suffering significant losses, including nearly 100 tanks. The Pakistani 1st Army Division did not cross the Kem-Karan sector. The war continued with both countries holding on to different territories, and it became a prestige conflict. During the conflict, India suffered 3,000 casualties, while Pakistan suffered 3,800. Indian-controlled areas were mainly Sialkot, Lahore, and the Kashmir sector, while Pakistani areas were primarily in Sindh and the Chumb sector near Kashmir. During the war, there were various estimates about the states involved in India and Pakistan. When the ceasefire was declared, many believed that India had the upper hand over Pakistan. The 1971 war between India and Pakistan was the largest conflict. The main issue in this war was the independence of Bangladesh. The war, which began on the evening of December 3, 1971, ended on December 16, 1971, with Pakistan's defeat. The Indian Army, along with the Bangladesh Army, fought against the Pakistani forces. The 1971 India-Pakistan War is considered one of the shortest wars in history, lasting only 13 days. During the war, Indian and Pakistani forces clashed in the eastern and western directions. After the surrender documents were signed by Pakistani forces in the Eastern Command, the war ended. This was the first and possibly the last public surrender of its kind. After the surrender on December 16, 1971, East Pakistan became the independent country of Bangladesh. At the time of East Pakistan's independence, India took 97,368 Pakistani prisoners of war, including 79,700 military personnel and paramilitary staff, and 12,500 civilians. The 1999 conflict between India and Pakistan is known as the Kargil War. This conflict occurred due to Pakistani soldiers infiltrating strategic locations on the Indian side of the line of control, disguised as Kashmiri militants. Initially, Pakistan blamed the conflict on Kashmiri militants. However, subsequent evidence and statements from Pakistani Prime Minister and Army Chief revealed involvement of Pakistani paramilitary forces. The Indian Army, with the support of the Indian Air Force, managed to regain control of many Indian positions along the line of control. Facing international diplomatic opposition, Pakistani forces withdrew from all remaining Indian positions along the line of control. Thus, the war ended. Thus, 4 wars have occurred between India and Pakistan.